Think positive.
Welcome back to the Ghoul Ambrose podcast, GA for short. I'm your host, Prince. This is a space for inner work, self-improvement, self-discovery, mindset, accountability, integrity, reflection, and personal development. This podcast is built for growth, for honesty, and for becoming a better version of yourself, one day at a time. New episodes drop every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Today's episode is called 3 Words. I'm my own biggest critic, even when I try not to. It comes and goes. Do you do the same? Added pressure when there's no need. Added attention when it's only me. Maybe you know that feeling. You look back at something you've done, and instead of leaving it where it is, you start picking it apart. Maybe you said something differently than you wanted to. Maybe you didn't handle something the way you expected yourself to. You just look at where you are and think you should be further. And suddenly, the thing itself isn't even the problem anymore. It's what you're saying to yourself about it. You become the person watching yourself the closest, noticing every flaw, every hesitation, every little thing that doesn't line up with the picture you had in your head. And if you ever caught yourself doing that, you already know how quickly it can become a lot. Because sometimes you aren't looking for anything wrong. You're just used to finding something. That's where the pressure starts. Not from somebody telling you that you're behind. Not from somebody demanding more. From the expectation you've created in yourself that you should have done more. You should have known better. That you should be somewhere different by now. And perhaps you've said those things to yourself so many times that you don't even hear how heavy they sound anymore. They just sound like thoughts. But where did they come from? That's what I want to know. Because if you're sitting there realizing that you do this too, where did you learn to speak to yourself like that? Was it something you heard growing up? Something you experienced? Something you compared yourself to? Or did it slowly develop from trying to become the person you wanted to be? You might not even know, and that's okay. Sometimes the root isn't one moment. Sometimes it's a bunch of things that collected over time. A comment that stayed with you, an expectation that became your standard, a mistake you never really stopped thinking about, a version of yourself you felt like you had to become. And eventually, all of that can start sounding like your own voice. That's what makes it difficult to separate. Because when the criticism comes from you, it can feel like honesty. It can feel like accountability. It can feel like you're simply being realistic about yourself. But are you? Think. Because there is a difference between knowing where you need to improve and never allowing yourself to feel like where you are has any value. And if you've been living in that space for a while, you might not even realize which one you're doing anymore. So, what's the reason behind it? Why be your own biggest critic? Maybe it's for improvement, for bettering yourself. It's because you don't want to become comfortable. Maybe pressure feels like the thing that keeps you moving. But what happens when it stops moving you? What happens when it just sits on you? When every accomplishment gets followed by another expectation? When reaching one goal doesn't feel like reaching anything because you're already thinking about the next one? At some point, you have to ask yourself whether you're actually pursuing something or constantly trying to prove something. And those aren't the same thing. Because if you're always trying to prove that you're good enough, far enough, smart enough, successful enough, there's always going to be another test, another measurement. another reason to question yourself. So why be your own enemy? Give yourself room. Give yourself a break. Step away from the constant inspection. There's a difference between being aware of yourself and constantly picking yourself apart. One allows you to notice, the other keeps you searching. And when you're always searching for something wrong, you can lose sight of everything that simply is. So loosen your grip. Let yourself exist without turning your presence into another thing to evaluate. There's still room to grow, but there should be also room to exist. So, 3 words: remove pressure, exist. I hope you found something worth taking with you today. Maybe a new perspective, maybe a moment to pause and reflect. Thank you for being here and sharing this space with me. Your presence matters. If this resonated with you, share it with someone you care about, because growth spreads through connection. I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself, stay grounded, and as always, be safe.